keeping those habits top of mind, just the movement. Ball moves, you move. 2-9 help. If you have to go over and help in that 2-9, then you got to have sync help. And we're not doing that as well or as efficient as we were doing. And that's where we have to, so, on that end of the floor, which is the end of the floor that I think we have to be better at to win games.
Yeah, Christie, the other night you were saying that you need your point guard to have a cool head, which is wondering from between then and between and now, if you're able to have a discussion with Caitlin about that.
Well, not just Caitlin, but our team. That's just, I think there's just, the thing with Minnesota the other night was just, they're a veteran team that's been through these games and are experienced for the playoffs. And there's just an emotional stability that they had that we don't have yet. We can't let missed shots and we can't let officials and, when things aren't going our way, we can't let that affect us. So across the board, our team is we just have to have a little bit more of that emotional stability.
We'll go Lou and then we'll go Christine.
You have said repeatedly that you'd like to be 1% better every game and everything. Are you seeing it? And how do you measure it? I mean, it's really a phrase, but I mean, when you talk about 1%, it's hard to determine.
Yeah, probably in our last 3 games, I've really, going back, teams are averaging 90 points on us right now. The last 3 games, 90 points. That's just way too many. The first 3 games the first 2 games before we played Minnesota, right out of the Olympic break, I think we were giving up 82. And then after the Minnesota game, it was only 80 points. And right now, these last 3 games for us, 90 points is just way too many. We've not been able to have the work that we were doing early on the defensive end as it relates to just our defensive shell and just keeping those habits top of mind, just the movement. Ball moves, you move. 2-9 help. If you have to go over and help in that 2-9, then you got to have sync help. And we're not doing that as well or as efficient as we were doing. And that's where we have to, on that end of the floor, which is the end of the floor that I think we have to be better at to win games moving forward, we have not. And so we've addressed it. It's just hard with these games every other day to try to work on five-man shell.
Go Christine, then Scott.
Christie, is there a motivation issue or a challenge once a team clinches, especially a young team? Of course you want to win games. Of course they want to play well. I mean, that goes without saying. But is there a bit of a challenge in just keeping up and every game knowing you're going to at least have 2 playoff games? Not that you didn't want to clinch, but is it a bit of a different feeling to keep everyone going and to motivate, especially as you just described, the giving up the points that they are kind of after clinching, right?
Yeah. I think that's our challenge, right? It's this young team who clinched earlier than expected. And for me, I've reached out to, the minute we clinched, I called Lynn. I was like, how do I move forward right now? This is different. I speak to Dan Hughes a lot, just trying to get information, get advice on how to move forward with 2 weeks left in the season. You just want to make sure that you're honing skills, you're keeping the momentum. We're shooting the ball well. We've got to make sure we're getting all those shots up, game shots. But we're going to find time to work on our defense, that's for sure, especially if we can't find a way to do a better job of getting stops.
Scott.
Playing off the defense, I was going to ask you, how, without the practice time, how are you instilling that? Is it conversations, it's film sessions, and does it start with individuals owning their matchup, and then from there getting on the same page as a team?
Yeah, you start with the team, and just because that's just how we have to keep moving forward to get wins. It's all about our team, but there's individual moving pieces that create certain things. So if we're not in our spot when someone gets, if there's dribble penetration and we're not at the nail where we're supposed to be and they see that lane, and then now, one of our posts have to pull up and then they're dumping down, or we're coming over from the weak side if we're a little bit late, which I think that's just, for me, is what I've seen. We're just a little bit late across the board on everything and not as sharp as we were early. But it's just like, you're moving on a string with each other. And that just wasn't there in the last 3 games, especially.
Go Mike.
Yeah, Coach, I want to ask you about Kelsey, and it obviously had a tremendous loss personally in her life this year. not just as a coach, but just as a person, or maybe even kind of a surrogate mom that coaches can be. How have you sort of helped her on that? And she's somebody who kind of keeps a lot to herself, and you know that because you've coached her for now 2 years. But what are the ways you've kind of, I don't know, just sort of been there for her, if you will?
Yeah. Kels is, she is a really, she's just, to herself. She's, she doesn't ever let you know how she's really feeling. She wears that completely. She can be having a really bad day and I don't know about it or find out about it till later. And that breaks my heart, that she's, holding that in. But she's fighting for something bigger right now. She has said that, it's about her dad and doing everything to please him. And, when everything happened, right, when he passed, that was what she had talked about and just stayed consistent with, the text messages and the phone calls and the cards and just, always checking in. She's always going to say she's okay, but just want to always make sure she knows that we are here for her any time, day or night, if she needs anything.
Okay, thank you, Coach.